Wholeness, balance, love, vibrations. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another Sacred Light conversation. I am the host that is holding the space, Marcus Robbins, aka Crystal Light 33, and I have a wonderful guest with us today. Her name is Simone. She is the founder of New Earth Holistic Healing in New York, and she specializes in quantum healing and many other practices that involve holistic and energetic healing. Our topic today will be regarding her experiences with extraterrestrial, starseed, star family contact, and her initiations into her healing practices. So I'd like to go ahead and hand it over and hold the floor open for you, Simone.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Faraó. It's such an honor to be here with you today. Thank you so much for inviting me and holding space for this amazing conversation. And I like to hold intention that anything that we speak here be of assistance and be of the highest vibration and frequency for knowledge, wisdom, and joy.
Ashay. So I guess we can go ahead and start off with um, hearing about how you got into your healing practices and what kind of triggered and showed you that this was your path.
Mhm. So, in 2015, I had a actually, I'm so sorry, 2014, I had a life experience in which allowed me to reconnect with the angelic realm, specifically with Archangel Michael. And I was going into a family hurdle, something that was very grave, and um, they assisted me into get everything into place and also my connection, you know, into understanding how we can fully connect with all of the spiritual, our spiritual team when we ask for, and they 100% show themselves to me in synchronicities, in how everything pan out, during that situation, that emergency that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there was an enormous amount of sadness as I was going through that. And I recall the assistance of Archangel Michael in assisting me in transmuting that into joy, in creating a platform for me to embody the warrior that I am and that we all are, by choosing to experience things in gratitude and seeing the gift behind the situation that, appear to be very ungrounding um, and sad. So I was able to do that with the assistance of the spirit.
That's beautiful. Um, so I know earlier you were mentioning to me that there was experiences basically throughout your life, going all the way back to your childhood, that were pretty much what we would call like tragic events, or um, it's what we would label as bad things happening. But for you, what you shared with me was that these events would happen, and during these events or afterwards, you would realize that there were either angelic beings or star family that were interacting and getting involved with you during these events. Do you care to share some of those?
Sure. So At age 4, I had a car accident, and I actually run the street behind a truck, and I got hit by a car in very high speed. And when that happened, my mom, we lived in Brazil. I grew up in Brazil, and we lived behind my grandmother's house, you know. And my mom was doing the dishes that morning, and she recalled this dream with angels, oh, many, a legion of angels above my house. And she was very impressed that when she was recalling the dream, it was in color. She was dreaming in color, live. And just as these images began, and she was like, oh my God, she started hearing the screams out in the street, right? So we lived in the back, so she had to, you know, run up the yard to find out what was going on. And she just heard the screams, and she ran outside. And by the time she got there, I no longer, they had already taken me to the hospital. So my mom thought I was dead. And by the time she got into the hospital, she didn't have a car. You know, I don't even know who brought her to the hospital. I was just in the emergency room, sitting in the person's lap, like just dazed and confused, but there was not a scratch on me, you know? So she never forgot about that. So that was one of the first indications that I've heard, you know, since I was young with my connection with the angelics. Then another thing also that I remember, recall, is that when I was like in for fifth grade, I remember giving sympathies. So it's recipes for people. Like, you know, a friend of mine had a nephew that stuttered. And I remember giving her a recipe with like something to do with an egg. I don't remember. I think he needed to eat an egg with just like when you cook the egg and it's still soft on the inside. There
Uh,
was some kind, I don't remember what it was. And I told her, well, you need to do this and this and this. And they did. And the kid, they were like, he stopped stuttering. So that is another memory. It just came to mind. I was already, you know,
wow.
practicing healing, I guess, back then, you know. Um, Also, in many situations of extreme danger, like, you know, I was on vacation. Now I was maybe about 13 or 14 years old. And, you know, in Brazil, you wear like very tiny shorts. Everybody dresses very provocative because it's just part of the culture, you know. It was a girl. I was like 13, 14 years old, you know. And I was on vacation, and I was staying at, you know, this family house, very, very nice people. It was a small city. It's called Minas Gerais. So it's like if you're going upstate or you're going to the country, basically, right? It's a very small city. And at the time I went, there was this rapist that was in the city that was like really attacking girls, right? And there was this kid that was friends with the family. I don't know if he was autistic. There was something about him. He rode a motorcycle. He was an adult. Like he was 20 something years old, or, you know, and I trusted him. You know, he was friends with the family that I was staying with. There was something about him. And one time we went out hiking. He took me hiking. You know, he was going to take me to a lake, like on this place. And we entered this forest. Like we entered this forest. There was no one there, and I sensed this thing. I just sensed like something told me, turn around and tell to go back. I know that he would have attacked me in there. I know, I sensed it. That was my angelic. Because now I recognize the feeling, because mm, they let me know certain things. It's a knowing, it's a clairsentience, right? That we are, I guess, abilities, but I didn't know what it was back then.
Hmm.
So, enormous amount of protection in many other situations. You know, my mom was a single mother. She was a humanitarian. My mom was in politics for many, many years. So we were alone a lot of the times at the house growing up. And there were a lot of dangerous situations that I know I have been really held by spirit and protected like dearly. So I always had that understanding, you know. And when I came to America, I was 19 years old. So that's now I was a little older, right? I was not spiritual. I grew up Catholic, but after I had my first communion, I don't recall really going to church a lot, and was already disconnecting from the religion. Didn't resonate much. Um, and when I got here, I remember I used to cry every single day. I got here in September of 1989, and our president in Brazil had been impeached. And my mom was here. My mom came first, and I came with my brother because that was always my brother's dream to come to United States. And we came and met my mom, but I had no consolation. I was just so sad. I was so homesick, even though I knew I didn't belong in Brazil anymore. I was, like in between places. That's how it felt. But what I knew was very difficult, very expensive to come to United States, and I left everything behind. And I remember thinking if I went back to Brazil, I didn't really belong there anymore. But I also was driving my family crazy, my mother crying, like so unhappy. And I remember one day I just prayed to God and I said, God, please assist me with giving me the courage to stay here for at least 4 more months. Because, when you move, any type of major changes in life, it takes about 3 to 6 months for you to acclimate, into a new place, anything, a new job. And I asked for, that's all I asked for. I did with all my heart. I just, the next day, my life it was like it didn't happen. I don't, that has to be divine. So that's another connection. I know I had direct interaction with the divine then. And now I understand why, because that is the law of free will. In our team of spirit, they cannot intervene, you know, and because we are sovereign beings and we are here on our journey, and this can go from good or bad. Any dark entities, they cannot unless you allow it. But I really asked with my heart, and they responded so fast. So that was another, indication, and something I never forget. It was like the markings in my life. But now I look back and I say, wow, this has been going on way longer. It's my lifetime, really. It's just that I wasn't aware. It was
Mm-hmm.
like little pieces of the puzzles that now make a complete story, and gives me a clear understanding of where I come from, where we all come from. And then I had, in 2009, I was again going through another massive shift, another ending of a cycle. I was engaged and I broken up, and I was literally on September 9 of 1999. Again, I was not spiritual at that time yet. Um, I was coming back. I had broken up. I came back from Miami. Some friends brought me to Miami for a trip. Came back with my luggage, with all my belongings, and I only had my car and this luggage with my clothing. And now I'm like, okay, now it's time to, where am I gonna go? I had quit. I had a job with Xerox. I literally started from scratch. And I remember going to a diner. So it's September 9, 2009. And my bill was $9.99. That's exactly what came, $9.99. And now I'm like, wait, to that again. They nudged me and I looked what the number nine represented, and it's the end of a cycle, a new beginning. It's exact what was taking place at that time. Also, the going to a new level of wisdom and understanding, that I would have been able to share that experience with others, right? So that already ignited now my, wow, wait a minute, there's something taking place in here. And because I felt so disconnected from God at that time, right? Because at the time I wasn't going to church. I'm like, I don't resonate with the Catholic Church anymore. I felt disconnected from spirit, and I felt that I didn't have the right to ask for anything at that time, you know. So that experience was a nudge to me that they love you unconditionally. They are always there for you. All you need to do is ask for, you know. They love us unconditionally, and when you're ready, they will be there for you. And so again, I went to another, you know, another more experiences. I met my husband in 2010 at that time and started a whole new cycle. And in 2014, again, I had another major break again, and that's when I connected to Archangel Michael. You know, during that time, you know, I'm not at liberty to share what that experience is because that involves other people that might not be ready to. But I assure you that it was a very sad, something sad, but that also was one of the greatest gifts that could have happened to me because it was my initiation. So, you know, I very rapidly, because I saw how everything was falling into place that I needed it. At the time, it was an urgent situation. It was a very urgent situation. And they assisted me step by step. And I remember I needed to be extremely strong. And I had I experienced, I contacted this shaman. Um, and I never ever had any remote Reiki session or anything like this. And I remember I was on Facebook at that time. Didn't participate much. Took me a long time to participate in Facebook. I think it was in 2009 was when I signed up. I was not a social media type of person, you know. And during this period of time in which I really needed to be strong and focused as I was going through that storm in my life, I had this experience with this shaman, and he did a remote session on me. And you know, he told me, so you know, at 10 o'clock, or you're just gonna lay down, and you know, I'm gonna be doing my thing here. And when I did, I was feeling everything in my body. So it was a profound experience for me. The next morning, I didn't know much about shamanism. I didn't know much about that. The next morning when I woke up, there was this humongous moth, because this is like in December. It was like right after Christmas. It was a moth like this big. So there is no windows open. There is nothing. And in my kitchen, I have this picture, and it's a tree. And in this tree, there is globes of light, different colors. So it's a golden background with this picture, with this tree of lights, and these pink lights, orange lights, and this moth was in this tree. And I'm like, what? First of all, I didn't know. I immediately felt the instinct because I'm not afraid of insects, but my husband is very afraid. So the first thing I did, I felt the instinct to ask the shaman because I didn't know, but I kind of this. Where is this coming from? So before I let this moth out or you know shoo away, I want to ask him, and I then come to find out the connection with the moth and shamanism, which is transformation. So it's like these signs are just so in your face that it's impossible
Yeah.
not to see it, you know? And from then, you know, I had actually, we had just got married, actually, me and my husband at the time. And, you know, something occurred and I was very, very sad. Um, but, you know, as I was able to achieve what needed, the emergency that we had. And then throughout the whole month of January, I remember feeling enormous amounts of joy because I was feeling so much sadness, but then it just transmuted once again, just like the divine assisted me back in, in 2000, in, I'm so sorry, in 1999, when I was crying, asking for help to assist me getting through the experience of living in the United States and in this new, this new path for me. I felt hugged by spirit once again, and I remember thinking that Facebook would be my platform to share all of the incredible downloads and messages that were coming in my feeds. And that's how my Facebook started, and that's how my spiritual life began.
Wow.
Yes,
Oh man, thank you for sharing those.
of course. And I actually make a point of sharing all my memories on Facebook, even from back then, because it not only gives me a reminder of the vibration that was happening back then, but also it really it's mind blowing how it's timeless. The message back then applies to today as well. It's so timeless. So it's quantum. This is why I believe in quantum, because you know everything is online and it's always online, no matter when you see it. It is online exactly when you need it. So
Wow. Um, there was uh, there was one memory that I remember you shared with me with the mountains
with the what?
when you were in the mountains.
Oh, in the mountains. Um, the one that I broke my wrist.
Yeah.
Okay. So in so this happened in 2014. I was working at a company, right? I'm just going back on how my I became a New World Holistic Healing too. So in 2015, um, I had my first experience with ayahuasca. It came to me because I remember there was a show on CNN with Lisa Lynn, and she was um, talking about how ayahuasca was assisting soldiers with PTSD.
Oh,
And I just thought, wow, this only happens in Peru. I had no idea, that ayahuasca has been around for so long in many different places, because they always say, too, ayahuasca happens for you. It starts happening to you before, the plant medicine, before you even take it, you know, it calls you in. You have to be ready for it. And like maybe a month so later, a very dear friend of mine told me about like wow, Simone, I had this experience at this place of very dear friends of ours, this very sacred land in upstate New York, you know and I'm like, wow, how interesting, because I just heard about the plant medicine. And I'm like, by March, at the time I was trying to get pregnant, and I said, if by March that doesn't happen, I am going to experience that. Oh my gosh. And so I did. And I had my first vision, which now I know are Arcturians. There was this light during the Corazon.
hmm.
I didn't know what it was at the time. I was seeing so many things. I'm extremely visual. And immediately started already seeing, like, all of the walls of consciousness. It was just incredible. At that time, I used to work for a corporation. I used to have this amazing job with a distributor of hair products. Had an amazing territory, amazing health insurance, amazing everything. And after I had that experience, also still very connected to Archangel Michael, that was always with me, right? I never imagined I was going to be doing this that I do right now. And one day I received this alarm and just told me you need to start learning some type of a healing technique. Like, in the first thing that came to mind was Reiki, but I just thought it was going to be something I was going to be doing, you know, part time, just doing it, not as a career, not as a practice. But what took place was that after my first lesson, I started already immediately not only feeling energy, because Reiki does teach you, right? It's like you're um, walking, like when a baby begins to walk and he's walking the training wheels, so to speak, for you to start feeling energy.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I remember during one of the lessons, like hearing something, like something in the back of my ear, which I don't hear that all the time. That was a very interesting experience I had. And also seeing colors. So then I'm like, wait a minute, something is taking place here. And every time I was going to work, I was really feeling anxiety and I was feeling nauseous. I just like, I can't be here. I just didn't, you know, I guess spirits started working that showing me this is not the place. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. And in October, so I started studying in 2015. I started doing sessions like, with friends, just doing little by little. And I began to also noticing changes in their life. Like, I didn't associate it at the time. And then in 2017 was when I started New Earth Holistic Healing. I quit my job and I began. And by that time, I was traveling with my husband and he took me to Colorado. And in Colorado, when I was in the mountains, I felt this real electricity. It was an activation then, right? Because there was enormous resonance with the land, because there is so many different energies in all these different places. So that was one of the things that I began to feel. Then in 2018, we went into Sedona. And in Sedona, there was these lights that were following me. It was in my camera. It was everywhere I went. Was this incredible divine things showing up in my camera, an enormous amount of energy as well. And that was a super activation I had, because I do a lot of light transmissions. And after Sedona, it followed me everywhere I went.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened in November of 2018. In December of 2018, we went into Colorado during the portal. So all these things were during the portal opening. So November 21st, I was in Sedona. Then 12/12 portal, I was back in Colorado again, in Denver, and didn't plan those trips. They just happened to be that way. And I went into the Garden of the Gods on 12/12. I was not expecting to be there. The day before, somebody told me, "Oh, have you been to the Garden of the Gods?" I'm like, "Oh, I must go," right? And it was off the charts. I was seeing the red aura around the mountains. It's a highly galactic, super sacred place to be. And when I was leaving the Garden of the Gods, I was by myself because my husband was, he went to Colorado to visit some very specialized physical therapists. He's a physical therapist as well, but these people are off the charts, their gifts, what they do, right? So my husband was having a session there, and so I went by myself. When I left the Garden of the Gods, I began feeling this enormous amount of energy, never felt that before, on my left arm, my whole hand. And when you have tingles, when your arms become dormant and you feel like that fumigation around your body,
Yeah,
I was feeling a wall all the way over my body like this, my arm. and it felt like if I could almost touch it. It was just very interesting experience. And I drove out. I was an hour away from Denver. I drove back. The next morning, we were going to meet with these professional mountaineers to go snowshoeing on 12/14. So on 12/13, we were supposed to go out to a mountain, which was Mount Falcon, to acclimate to the height. So it was a 2-3 hour hike, right? So we were about maybe 4,000 feet, right? But it was about 50 degrees out. So we had layers on. It was sunny, it was beautiful, but we didn't bring any gear or anything. So we're going up the mountain, and as I was passing through some trees, I started feeling these shocks in my hands, like, okay. Also, when you look on my photographs, there is this almost like not a beetle. There is a name in Egyptian. It's like almost looks like a spider. What is it called? That in Egyptian, not a horse. There is a name. I forgot the name of it, but it's almost like you see in all my photographs. It looks like almost like a spider or a beetle of some kind.
Oh, are you talking about the scarab?
A scarab, exactly. The scarab began appearing after Sedona, my Sedona activation. So all my photographs, we're going up. You can see the scarab on my photographs as we're going up this mountain, Mount Falcon. Mm-hmm. So about 2 or 3 times that we ascending, I felt it's like an electric shock coming from the trees. Okay. And I told my husband, oh my God, I'm feeling this, because I had this experience in Sedona at a very sacred place. I never had that experience before of this connection with the three beings, right?
Yeah.
So up, and there is this, on top of the mountain, there was a historic mansion that people lived in there in the 1800s, like really incredible. So by the time we got on the top of this mountain, now it's getting frigid. It's like 4 p.m. Sun is beginning to come down, and the temperatures are dropping like it's hot. Really cold and windy. And we were not really dressed really the way we should have been. Mm-hmm. And on the way down, as we coming down, there was nobody there. Also, there was like 2 people, and they were going another different direction than we were. So now it's getting dark, and we begin descending, and we saw all of these deers, like this beautiful family of deers. And I remember taking my gloves out to take photographs, and my whole arm froze. My hands were frozen, right? So now we're coming down, and very fast, but there was black ice. I fell, and I broke my wrist in several different areas, okay? It was a very dangerous situation, because we were about 3 hours from the bottom of the floor. It was getting dark. There was nobody to call. We call, my husband called, rescue, but the only way to come up was to hike, just like us. It was black ice everywhere. And my husband quickly made something, because my arm was like completely twisted. It looked like I broke in several different places. And I was dazed. I mean, we had to walk down this mountain like on our butts, because it was black ice. There was no way to really go down standing up, right? Anyway, Spirit once again assisting us throughout, and we coming down, and within 2.5 hours we met with the fire department, and it still had to come down. When we got into the hospital, it was an amazing team. Like it just felt like a very high vibe. The people, when you go to a hospital, it's always down, but it's a beautiful room. The doctors were like amazing. So many people around, and just incredible experience. I was like amazed with that. And they told us that when they were going to put my he showed the breakage was I was going to need surgery. And they told us that when they were going to put the wrist back together, that I was gonna feel pain, you know. And but I was very relaxed. You know, they gave me a sedative, something that I was conscious. And all I remember, I just saw this white, and then all of a sudden, I'm up. I was up into a chamber. I was up in a healing chamber, which I believe was an Arcturian ship. And I was there for about 15 minutes. I was fully conscious. I was at home. I was blown away and just looking around because all I could see, I knew it was around. It was a circumference location, and there was the colors reminded me of mangano calcite, reminds me of a mauve, pink. That's what I could see around. It was like this, and I was looking. I was just like, oh my God, I am home. I'm home. Like, and I could hear from the back of I could hear downstairs like commotion but it sounded like a very distant place to be, you know. Um, I remember being there for I remember because I came back about 15 minutes time period. Didn't feel a thing. I was just in extreme amount of joy and blown away. Like I was home. Came back, then all of a sudden I'm back into the room. My husband is sitting there, the team of people, and I remember just telling him I was home. I was in a ship, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" I had little tears in my eyes, right? Okay. The next morning, I wake up, no pain, okay? Because I didn't do surgery. I was going to do surgery in New York. We had a fly back to New York for me to be able to do that. I had no pain, didn't have to take pain medication. And I was like, wait a minute, we were supposed to do the hike, like that big snowshoeing hike that we went the day before, to acclimate with. Didn't feel any pain. We went back to the Garden of the Gods. We were there, took photographs. And the next day, now this is December 15th, I did that 9,000 feet hike. It was a 7-hour hike, very cold, with my broken arm, like nothing happened. So that was one of my experiences about being in the ship. Oh, and I forgot to tell you the 2005 experience. That was my first experience. That was the one. Sorry, I'm just getting a little bit ahead of it. But okay, guys, I forgot. That is a very important part in here. In 2005, I didn't even know my husband yet. I was totally not spiritual, nothing like that. That was my first ship experience, okay? I lived in Hicksville, New York, and I actually lived near Grumman, Northman Grumman. I don't know if it's associated what I saw, but nonetheless, I came back from New York City that night around maybe 4 o'clock in the morning. It was a beautiful summer night. And I lived in a house. It was a 3-floor home. And at the time, I used to smoke cigarettes. And I had to move out of that apartment the very next day. So my room was on the 3rd floor of the house. And this specific area where we were, there was one of the rooms, it was a 3-bedroom apartment, big, nice apartment. There was a balcony on this specific room on the 2nd floor. And so we were outside, me and my girlfriend, smoking a cigarette. And all of a sudden, I don't recall how long we were outside. I do recall remembering it was going to be an incredible summer day because I remember seeing these hues of red in the sky. Like, okay. All of a sudden, we're sitting in the floor. I look up, and there is this huge triangle ship hovering right above us, right? We were on the 2nd floor. It appeared that he was like on the 3rd or 4th floor. If there was another floor, there was another floor above me. That close, okay? What I recall, because I only was able to look for a second, really, because I recall there were lights, there were squares in this triangle, and there were lights, green, yellow, red. That's what I recall. And now, in this spare of a second or 2 seconds, maybe, me and my friend looked at each other. We put our heads on each other's shoulders and we just crouched back, too crouched because we were right by the door. We crouched back inside the room and closed the door. And then I don't remember anything after that. So that was my first experience with extraterrestrial ship. And then my second experience was my ayahuasca experience, which I didn't know what it was. It was this lights, was these 8 feet lights that appeared during a coração, during the healing of coração, and it was like um, it was like a white light. It was a triangle, but it was a triangle within a triangle and a triangle. There was 3 layers of this light that were just hovering. So now I understand that is Arcturian. So that was, I guess, the first Arcturian being that I encountered then.
Mm-hmm.
That was the 2015 ayahuasca experience, right? Then in 2018, I had this experience at Mount Falcon. And then after that, a whole lot has begun, a lot of information, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot of profound moments and memories that you have there. That just really, they just really expand the mind. And then, once experiences like that happen, there's really no returning back to not experiencing and witnessing that these things are actually happening.
Absolutely.
I know, for myself, like I haven't had the crossing of ayahuasca yet, but I have taken other plant medicines, and I know there was a couple of times where when I was on LSD, um, well, there's 3 times that I thought I'll bring up. So there was one time where it was back in 2014, I want to say, and I'm over at a friend's, and she lives like out in the country area. So there's like no city lights and like traffic and all that stuff. And um, we go outside around 3 to 4 o'clock. And if anybody knows anything about like 3 to 4 a.m., that's like a very profound, like dream state, extraterrestrial, witchy type of
Yes.
hour. So we're outside and we're laying down in the grass, and it's a full blown sky of like stars and planets and all that stuff. And we look up and we see two, what we would normally think is shooting stars, go literally horizontal across each other, like just shoot right across each other horizontally, like not even
Wow.
vertically falling down.
Wow.
So we saw that, and then we went over to the little road because there's like a small road next to our house, and we're walking on the road, and we see these small little orbs, like probably this big, and they're like neon green, like that alien green look, and they're just like all lined up on both sides of the road. And I remember we would like walk up to it and try to like pick it up or touch it, but it'd be like transparent or like a holographic visual almost.
Wow.
hmm and then I had a second experience out at her house, and this was another day or night, I should say. And um, we're sitting up in her room with her brother as well, and we are listening to music, um, and it's by Nako. Not sure if you've heard of Nako, but he does like indie folk type of music,
Uh-huh.
and um, he's playing. Her brother's playing one of the songs on the phone, and he like holds the phone up to me, so I'm looking at the screen, and then next thing I know, looking at the screen, it like distorts to where Nako, instead of like just singing the music, in general to everybody, he literally looks directly at me, like full on, like soul to soul contact
Wow.
through the music video. And everything all of a sudden turns into like a deep process within myself. It was like a really profound, like, I am state. And next thing I know, I like black out from the physical. And um, all I remember is I come back to the physical, and I'm sitting in the chair with my head down, and I like open my eyes, and it's nighttime now. It was like afternoon when we started our journey, and all I remember was that I was in an extraterrestrial ship,
Wow.
and I turned around in the computer chair, and I'm just like drawn to go out and look out the window, and I hear like a whoop, 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 like that kind of sound,
Wow.
like a hovering type of sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I look outside the window and I see like a bunch of underlights in the clouds.
Wow.
Sit there like, what? I'm just sitting there looking, and then next thing you know, it like just like takes off and disappears. And then I look down at the ground, and I see these footprints appearing in the ground, but like no physical body there.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and this was like when I had just begun even like getting into a more expansive awareness of really anything. And uh, me at that time was kind of like weirded out and like didn't really know what to think.
Right.
I stayed upstairs and they were downstairs, like, so that was weird too, because like I came back and they were just like gone.
Oh
And I looked
my.
out the window and that happened, and I was like, all right, this is kind of scaring me right now. So I sit upstairs for a while, and they had the TV on downstairs. And like in my mind, where I was in my mental state, I thought there was like some beings downstairs. So it took me a long time to go downstairs. And then when I had went down finally, they were like, one of them was asleep, and the other one was awake, and they're like, I was like, what happened? They're like, yeah, you kind of just like freaked out, and they were just gone all of a sudden. And yeah, that was so interesting. And that's what's really profound about these plant medicines, or psychedelics as we call it, is they truly just really can shed a lot of layers and open you up to beyond this third dimension.
Yes, absolutely. It's like portals. They act as portals to, you know, raise your consciousness to that level to be able to, see through. It's amazing.
Hmm. And then a third experience I had was, okay, this happened in 2015.
Uh-huh.
Um, this was back at the old house I used to live at. One of my good brothers was over, and we were on it at that time as well. And we were sitting outside in my backyard at nighttime, and we had a blanket out, my laptop out there, listening to music. and we were sitting out there, and um, due to like the vibrational state that we were in, we were like basically like full on interacting with the stars, like just full on communication. Like we would like telepathically and say things to the stars, and we could see the stars like moving up and down as it feels like a mouth moving.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And yeah, it was so awesome. But so there was this like really, really, really bright star, and that really, really bright star was across the street from my backyard out in the field. And it all of a sudden just like slowly started descending from the sky. It's like super slow, just like that. And then next thing we know, we're sitting out there, and we hear um, we hear my neighbor's fence have something like go against it, and like something climbed over it, and then climbed over my fence, and then we heard this kind of like a, how would you describe it? I guess
Like a whistling,
like a
like in the leaves.
lizard, like a lizard type of sound,
Okay.
and this like super dense like uh, I guess dark energy, if you want to call it that, kind of just like came around us, and me and him were like, okay, I think we should go inside. So I get up and I turn around, start walking, and I have the blanket around my shoulders. And as I'm starting to walk, um, something basically steps on the bottom of the blanket, and the blanket just like comes off my shoulders.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's a few of my experiences. I've had more.
Yeah. It is a little strange, like, right, when those things that we can't see. Um, Last year, early last year, I was actually, no, during summer last year, I was doing a session here. Now I'm having quantum experiences. There are a few different things happening that is tapping into different dimensions, like, But this one, I was working on my patients here in this room, and I have a chair. It's not this chair that I'm sitting in. It's another chair that's in here. In the back of the chair, there's a metal. There is like this round metal thing that, like those doors when you knock, like with that metal thing. Those doors that has like a hook, a metal hook.
Oh yeah.
This chair has this metal hook in the back. My dog Sage usually participates in all of my sessions. He's like a guardian. He always took. He's a rescue. He's been with us for almost 2 years. From the very beginning, he always jumped in the table and he stays by the person's feet. But he does not like to be touched. Like if you come, you don't touch him. But that is the way he connect with people. It's through the sessions, right? So that specific client, no, he was here. That specific, I didn't have a problem. He was here and he left the room. He usually stays through. But something, my other dog started barking, he jumped out. So I closed the door. And I'm working with this client. And 40 minutes into the session, all of a sudden, all doors closed. So I had the air conditioner on. The chair literally lifted by itself. And the metal went like boing, boing, like it was knocking by itself. Okay? Something was in this room that entered because it's like portals, right? It is my understanding that this room here that I work is like a portal. It's like a vortex of energy. But something I don't know is from the client. It was, because I have a gift to capture beings, different beings in my photographs, in the smoke, in the light, in the rainbow
Oh yeah.
faces, and things like that.
Here,
So
can I pull some
something
up?
manifested in here. in this room. I didn't feel afraid, but I have to tell you, it was kind of strange, to see it happening. Oh, look at you. You have some pictures in there. Yeah, this was in smoke, rainbow in smoke, and these are some mirrors of rainbow in smoke. I'll show you the actually original photograph. This is our original photograph. Um, see this first photograph here? The first photograph that you see next to the, when you focus, you see,
This
go
one?
down. That's what, this is the original photograph. That one is an original, and then the other ones are the mirrors of it, right? But there's many, many more, many others. This one was in January, actually, was this month. But there is other beings that are captured that doesn't even have mirrors, like beings in the crystals, beings in smoke. That is really, there was a dog during summer as well. A dog appeared in the smoke, and it came on the photography. It's very interesting. But in any case, it's very, that's why it's so important to stay grounded and clear. Make sure that you know how to shield yourself, because I do think, you see, look at that, look at those faces. I do believe that the dimensions are just merging.
Oh yeah.
So we have been able to tap into all these different dimensions from the fourth and fifth dimensions, you know very amazing what's taking place. It's just such an incredible time to be alive and to be part of this, this ascension, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm very grateful, and it's only going to become more clear and more expanded from here.
Yes. Are you from Sirius? Do you know?
Uh, my
Yes.
uh, origin is from Lyra.
Only Lyra? Are you sure you don't? I do feel you have Sirius as well. You
Currently
talked
serious.
to me about the stars. Huh?
Currently serious.
A what?
Currently serious.
Currently Sirius.
Yes.
So you do know you're from Sirius. Okay.
Yeah, that's where my Lyra self had moved to after Lyra got destroyed.
Got it. Understand. But you were not originally from Sirius. You just now reside in Sirius. That's what you're saying. You are that aspect of yourself. Is that what you're saying?
Um, so like um, originally Lyra was where the irons, like the feline humanoid,
Mm-hmm.
and the carrions or the Aegon bird beings came from.
Right.
Um, but I'm not sure. Well, I'm sure you probably are aware of the Orion Wars.
Yes, I heard. I don't know much about that, but I have a friend that is from Lyra, and she mentioned to me about the Orion and how the wars, and then they basically exploded, and so some went into Sirius. Some is that during the time of Atlantis and or Lemuria also that some went into the Middle Earth and
Yep, exactly. Um,
okay.
so that war happened with the draconian beings, and
Hmm.
Lyra was pretty much destroyed. So like myself, my higher self, had moved to staying in the Sirius constellation,
I see.
and then some others went to like the Pleiades and a few other places.
Yes,
Um, but yeah,
very interesting.
definitely very connected with Sirius now.
Yes. I knew I was from Sirius before I even knew because before I met my first star seed, so the first star seed I ever met was in 2012. And she just fell off the sky like this. Her name is Sixtina Friedrich. She's a starseed elder, and she creates necklaces. She creates different crystal jewelry when she astral travels and she speaks with it, and she can literally feel your frequency to match you. with the necklaces that are super high frequency, right? And I recall, you know, when you talked about the stars, I knew there was something with me and the stars because I was seeing the stars as a coil. I would see stars, but almost like a coil of energy, like coming towards me. So I experienced all those things, and I knew. I don't know why the name Sirius. I don't know, but she was my first. So that was the first star seed being that I really. That's when I started understanding about, you know, about the galactics and about, you know, my origins and all of that. Yeah, because we know it's in our blueprint, you know. But
Yeah. Let's see. I started drawing on Sirius in about 2015, and I had like a feeling about Sirius, and then um, in 2016, I was getting a Reiki session done by uh, one of my good brothers, Clayton, and I had a lion elder come to my visual and um, pretty much present to me like that was my original soul family and stuff.
right,
So since then, I've been just really working on activating and bringing that into this vessel.
yes,
So interesting. And
it
then
really is.
it makes sense too because there's actually a few videos on YouTube where people describe Lyrans and they'll talk about how they're like that shamanic elder type of incarnation
Mm-hmm.
or like the keepers of knowledge and wisdom, uh, which is that's what Yeshua was. Yeshua was a liar in
Mm-hmm.
Christo. And that's why he was just like so automatically just teaching and sharing pure like harmonic universal truth
Right,
and stuff.
right.
But yeah, I had that Reiki session, and that was what brought that to the surface for me. And I'd also had something brought to me that I had some kind of incarnation on Nibiru, which is where the Anunnaki are.
Uh-huh.
And I still haven't discovered too much more about that, but that was something that I have felt and had brought to me.
Amazing.
Isn't it? It
It
really,
really is.
it really brings some activation and healing, and it really dissolves the fog, so to say.
It's true. I have to tell you that there are some things coming online now that I didn't, you know, I mentioned to you earlier that I just begun mentoring to learn tuning forks. And don't you know that one of the abilities that something is coming online because with me, I begin to have these abilities and I start embodying before I know what are they, to be honest with you. And then a few months later, a channeling comes through. I receive the information of what the technology is from and what is it about, right? I remember doing this session with the first time I'm using the tuning forks, and I start seeing the actually energy coming from the fork. And then yesterday, I had a very young star seed here for the first time, a 17-year-old. I don't know where she's from yet, but when I'm having the session, I'm also begun channeling now. I saw this head and this white light all around her 2 to 3 times. Very interesting. So this is something new that's just coming online. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know I had disabilities, and I'm still, you know, very, very interesting. So for me, I try not to be very complicated at all. I try not to try to I just allow it to come in, and I just follow. That's it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Simplicity, you know. Really, it's just in us. All you need to do is just follow your inner guidance as to, and just allow it to just take place, you know.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Uh, yeah.
So
Interesting.
what's next for you now?
What's next for me?
Yeah.
As in,
As in your practices, as in your
yeah.
studies.
Um, right now, I just began my crystal healing certification courses yesterday.
Amazing.
So I'm gonna put my focus into that, and I think that goes on for have it done within 30 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Um, and then once I finish that up, I'm gonna practice a little bit
Mm-hmm.
with the different formations and um, uses of it around my home
Right.
and grids and whatnot.
Very
And
cool.
after that, I have the idea of journeying into aromatherapy
Yes.
because I already really like using essential oils and I've used them for a few years now. So that's another thing that I would love to learn, proper usage for treating and healing, um, ways to clear space with them, and whatever else comes with that medicine. Um, and then I do want to dive back into my Reiki and finish level 2 and 3 so I can get
Yes.
mastered in that, as
Yes.
suggested to me.
Yes, because you know, it's the attunements you really feel. It's each symbol has a specific power, right? So like with Reiki, when I have a client now, I open a ether tunnel and I use it and I go in all dimensions existences, right? With the crystals, I address any past lives, anything with anxiety, any physical. I work with the root causes of imbalances in the body. I can feel the energy of where the stagnation is and related to which emotion, right? Energy, emotion. But I also work with pyramids. You are under a Nubian pyramid, which is a cosmic antenna. This is all ancient technology.
Yep.
It truly is. It's ancient technology, and you know, in the pyramid, it's a cosmic antenna that brings out to the surface all your subconscious comes out for healing, for and it's fascinating to see the shifts occur very rapidly. You know, my work is my sessions are about 2 hours or so. Um, the person is in the table for about an hour to an hour 15, but before that, you know, the work begins. The foundation of my work is forgiveness. That's how spirit guided me from the very beginning. And so once we're able to clear those attachments and clear and raise the person's frequency, their shift begin immediately, like when they leave here. You know, it's just fascinating to see. So also is intention, right? I really work. I have my gifts as well, and I work from the heart space. The frequency that I carry is, you know, um, but also the person. It's intention. Everything is with intention, but we are our own healers, you know.
Yep.
Our work is just to ignite within the person that light within them so that they can remember who they truly are. And when they do remember who they truly are, they become invincible. They can conquer anything. And they have a direct channel with their higher self, with spirit, with all dimensions, angelic beings, galactic, God, swords, everything. You
Yep.
know, so it's just a blessing to for us to be exercising our true calling in the planet, what we came here to do. What a how can you I pinch myself every single day. How right? How blessed we are.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
incredible.
it just has me beyond words a lot of time, especially when, I mean, it could be not even really a practice. It can just be someone reaching out to me, and I will share some like uh, centered wisdom that this channels through that they need at that moment. And that right there, like seeing their reaction and just like how it affects them and
Yes.
puts them into a more inner peace state
Yes.
is, I mean, that alone right there is just has me smile so hard and
Yes.
just sit back and be humble and realize how beautiful life is.
It is. Farah, because we are conduits of energy. We each person carries a specific frequency. You're gonna notice that every person that comes to you have been sent by spirit with that specific frequency that they need at the moment. Just like your Lyra, and also that I happen to be working with star seeds. I have no doubt that like literally 90% of the people that are coming to me, they are star seeds. They don't even know that they are. They become activated here very, very fast, you know. So at this point in time, everybody that's going to become to you when you're working as a healer, we each have a specific signature that are activating others, and you know the specific line that they needed, you know. So it's incredible. Just trust, you know, and the more joy you feel, the more it amplifies that energy, and more, you know, it expands through them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, what was I gonna say? I forgot. Over here, just really feeling the high on the life right now.
Yeah. I have some very incredible people that I'm going to introduce you to. One of them is Santiago Rafael. He's going to be here with me. He's a planetary grid worker. He is an Akashic master. He is an incredible human being. Like, you are going to be blown away. He's actually going to be with me here this week before he heads to Egypt to do work at the Giza pyramid. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to. And there's some other people that I do feel it's going to be amazing to be here sharing, you know, in your space, because I know you're doing amazing work. It takes a very special person to be able to, you know, deliver, communicate. I'm not very good at that, you know,
Yeah.
but you are great. I think you're doing amazing, you know, and to have a platform like that to bring people that are carrying different vibrations, different information, different, you know, um, intel, right? To be
Thank you.
broadcasted out. So thank you so
Yeah,
much for that.
that's the whole point of this. It's not even honestly about me at all. I'm just trying to open this space and
Yes.
allow it to be a connection point
Mhm.
for star seeds, indigos, crystal, rainbow children,
Yes.
Pleiadians, Sirians, Lyrans, all
Yes.
the others above, to be able to just have a continuous network, or
Hmm.
for those that are beginning their journey and really aren't comfortable with what they're experiencing or
Yes.
the weirdness of who they are. And
Yes, and not having anybody to share with, because imagine you going through those things, you have your friends next to you, extremely 3D. You can't really talk with family. It's a very, a lot of people feel themselves in this situation now. So it's amazing to have a space where they can not only share, right? We're regular people. All of a sudden, oh, I saw a spaceship. Like, oh, hello. Who are you talking to about, right? But it's true,
yeah.
and it's like, we are very authentic. You and me, we have no problem sharing because it's the truth. It's the truth of who we are, right?
Hmm.
And that's where it's so important to have a place for others to be able to come forth and to speak their truths, right? And to be calm because they just coming online and they don't. A lot of people don't know where to go, so it's very interesting. I have done other interviews before, but and I know how many people reached out to me explaining how, so everything that we put out really, um, it expands out in the quantum. It's gonna reach something, right? It ripples. This information ripples, and
Yep.
somewhere, somehow, this information is going to reach the person that needed to hear that to activate them. And
Mm.
like, I remember this, so it's so amazing. Gotta keep
Yep.
doing that.
Yep. Yeah, so that's the plan with this. That's what was brought to me through spirit, was to open this floor up for others. And not only that, but it's a passion of mine, being a Gemini sun sign, of just having
Hmm.
intellectual and Mercury conversations, just being able to
Yes.
communicate on all levels and have conversation. It really keeps me in my center of my passion, while also connecting with others and allowing others to, like we were just talking about, be able to share their wisdom, knowledge, stories, experiences, um, tips for health and wellness on becoming their most healthy and whole self. Um,
Yes.
yeah, like I got a video I'm about to upload that I did with a brother about the seven chakras for basics and people that haven't really learned much about those yet. The
Amazing.
other day I posted a video where I just talked about my daily diet and what I eat and what keeps me
Yeah.
healthy and a vibrant energy. um,
Would you be interested in speaking with somebody that is now one of my clients that is a star seed? She also had a transformation here. She has a CBD oil store, and
oh
she's really amazing. I think it would be mind blowing to have her to explain the frequencies of each one because it's so incredible. I want to learn more about it too. You know,
yeah, please do send her.
amazing. I'm gonna put you in touch with a bunch of different people because I think it will be so cool.
Yeah, like I was saying, I want this to be a open platform for um, anything that deals with health and wellness,
Yes,
and just being able to expand into awareness of self.
yes.
And self is all and all is self.
Amazing.
So CBD explanation is definitely something I would love to have on here, because I could use some more education on that as well.
Yes.
And yeah. uh, well, I guess we can go ahead and wrap it up. I gotta do this meditation in an hour.
Okay, that's right. Listen, it was such a pleasure and honor to be here. It was so much fun. I hope that we can do this again. There is so much more to cover. you
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
I'm sure. Yeah. So I would love to see you again. I really appreciate the invitation, and I'll speak with you soon. Thank you so much for everyone that's here, holding space for us. We're sending so much love, light, and joy, and everything you deserve. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Simone.
Mwah.
I appreciate
Ciao.
it. Much love.
Much love.
And that concludes another Sacred Light conversation. That was the wonderful guest, Simone. She, in case if you didn't hear in the beginning, She owns the New Earth Holistic Healing in New York. She's a quantum healer and very, very big channel and point for uh, star beings and other star seeds around the galaxy to show themselves and present themselves. If you have any questions, I will be posting her social media down below in the caption, along with mine as well. Yeah, just very grateful for everyone that tuned in, being able to hold this space. If you found this kind of information helpful for yourself or others, because I know a lot of us out there do experience extraterrestrial contact, as we call it, or go through an awakening where we just have some soul level experiences that we can't really explain. If you did find this helpful, feel free to comment below or add us on the social media, and you can contact us about it. We can connect some more dots. Thank you for tuning in. Wholeness, balance, love, vibrations.
The illest to be, no ego, machismo with fuego. Kundalini is my payroll, saucy like queso. Watch me with a wrist, no watch, only crystal bracelets. Yeah, we stay lit. Yeah, we stay lit. We woke. There's riches inside of me, I ain't going broke. Yeah, we stay lit. We woke.